Hello from Mary Cellars, makers of fine quality wine here in Pullman, Washington. Go Cougs! Today we're going to show you a demonstration on how to set up and tap in a keg with a portable wine barrel unit. And we're fortunate enough actually to have a woodworker here in Pullman that can make these for people for sale. We'll talk more about that later. First of all, let's go over the components that we have. We have a nitrogen tank, an inert gas, which pushes the wine through the product line to the faucet. Then we have our keg of wine that holds the wine. We have our regulator that regulates the pressure in the keg that pushes it through the line, and the keg coupler, which taps into the top of the keg, which pushes the product through the line to the faucet. The first thing you want to do before you get started is make sure your faucet is closed to avoid a mess here. And then we'll take and hook up the regulator to the nitro tank. Now, if you do purchase one from us at the winery, we'll have this set up to the ideal pressure already set. But if you don't, 4 pounds is pretty much ideal. 4 to 5 usually is just about right. But there's a keeper nut on the set screw that adjusts your pressure. So if you're doing this for the first time, you get a new regulator, had to replace one, back the screw off until it just jiggles a little bit. That'll take the pressure completely off. And then I always like to set this up against something when I tighten it so it doesn't skip out. Sometimes it's a little hard to get the thread started, but you take it, push it all the way to the end, shove it in clockwise to get it started. And just a little persistence, sometimes it's a little hard to get started. Then just go finger tight. And then once you get it finger tight, you kind of hold on to it. And I can't stress the importance enough of using a crescent wrench instead of pliers. If you use pliers, you're going to round off the edges of the mounting nut on the regulator. And once you damage that, then you won't be able to tighten it. So use a crescent wrench. Tighten it down so it's tight. You can hold the regulator and tighten it. And then hold it up against something so the tank doesn't skip out on you. And give it a good tight. There you go. So the next thing we'll do is check the pressure on the regulator. So we open that up. So it's not registering anything yet because I backed it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and turn this up until I get it to about 4 pounds. Put it about right there for now. Set that aside. Now the next thing I'm going to do is tap in the keg. Now the keg, you always want to make sure that the coupler is in the untapped position. There's the tap position. Pull it up and out. Make sure it's in the untapped position. Otherwise, you're going to get a wine bath. So there are 2 notches on the coupler. And you can see the notches. Well, they line up with 2 pegs on the top of the keg. So you put the coupler on the keg till the notches line up with the pegs, and then turn it clockwise. Then you pull it out and down, and your keg is in the tap position. Okay, at this point, now I'm going to leave this all out. You can do this with the barrel in the wine barrel in the oak barrel itself, or do it outside and lift it in. I'm doing it outside so you can see everything how it's done. So then I'm going to turn on the shutoff valve here on the regulator. This is allowing the pressure to go through the line. And this is where you'll listen for any leaks. Once this fills the keg with enough pressure, you won't hear it anymore. If it continues to go, you might have a leak. Then you look for the leak. Now we have a 2 keg system here. And then I'm going to grab a glass. With the faucet. There you've got wine on tap. Cheers. And that's all there is to it. And then when you want to untap, the same thing. You want to make sure, before you untap the keg, make sure it's in the untapped position. Otherwise, you're going to get the wine back again. So untap it, and there you go. If you go and get a new keg, I would suggest probably turning the tank off, which you can just close this, or the shutoff valve, either one. I always like to shut this off just because that makes sure there's no pressure coming out of the tank at all. And that's about it. And then I always put a bungee cord inside, and this will wrap around the tank. So when the tank is in here, say you're tapping in a new keg, you've got this bungee cord around it so it won't tip over. And that'll save you a headache too. Because this is how the regulators get broken. So there, that can't tip over. This regulator's been beat up pretty bad because we use this one for rentals and different events. So the regulator you'll get will be a brand new one, and it shouldn't have any problems at all. And that's basically it. The benefits to having wine on tap are you get some wine that's going to last in a keg 6 months or even longer. Whereas you open a bottle, you got 3 or 4 days before the flavor's compromised. Yeah, so either for restaurant or in-home use, it's a real benefit. So happy drinking from Mary Cellars. Cheers.